Yo, so what is up everybody? We are back today with a brand new video, and for today's video, we're going to have every team steal a player randomly from a different team. So honestly, it could be your best player gets stolen or your worst. We're pretty much going to go and use wheeldecide.com, and I guess we'll just kind of see who gets stolen. So first up, the Philadelphia 76ers. You have the full roster size here to pretty much see who's going to be the player that gets stolen. So their 8th overall player, their 8th best player will be stolen, and the 8th overall player will be sent to. The second wheel will decide which team they go to, and each team only gets to steal one player from any team. So once they get chose once, they are off the board. So the Sixers' 8th overall player will be heading to the Miami Heat. Now, let's see who the 8th overall player is, and I'm just kind of explaining this since it's the first time. The 8th overall player will be Greg Monroe. So Greg Monroe will be headed to the Heat. Next up, the Milwaukee Bucks. So obviously, you could get Giannis, you could get a couple other decent players. So let's see what overall player will be stolen from the Milwaukee Bucks. Almost the number 1, but it goes to number 14. So no one crazy is going to be taken away. But let's see what team they go to. Okay, and let's see which team is unfortunate and not going to get themselves a very great player in return. So that team would be the Clippers. So the Clippers are going to be getting the 13th overall player on the Bucks, which was DJ Wilson, but I forgot to show that for some reason. Next up, the Chicago Bulls. You got Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter, a few players you definitely would probably want on your team. So let's see what overall player is going to be stolen, and it's looking like the 8th overall player, so you might honestly get a pretty solid player, maybe someone in the high 70s range, and let's see which team is going to get that. We got ourselves, it's looking like the Nuggets will be the team to get the player, and the 8th overall player on the Bulls will be Shaquille Harrison. Not what we were hoping for, so that does sting a little. That's not what you would hope for at all. And then next up, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, they don't have too many great players that you would necessarily want. There's only a few, so let's see. Hopefully, it's a high number. Let's see, it is number 4, so it is a pretty high number, but even number 4, that should only be a high 70 overall player, because it is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're not very good right now. Looking at what team will get the player, it is the Suns. So the Suns will be getting themselves, so 1, 2, 3, 4, they will be getting Larry Nance Jr., 79 overall, so definitely not a bad pickup for the Suns. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics. So you could get Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Gordon Hayward, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, a whole lot of great players. So let's see what we got here. So it looks like the 11th overall player will be going to the Philadelphia 76ers. And who is the 11th overall player, you ask? Well, let's see. The 11th overall player will be Terry Rozier. So actually a pretty good pickup for the Sixers. Their backup point guard play is not the best. They really only have TJ McConnell, so he honestly could help them out more than a lot of other players could have. Next up, we have the Clippers, and the Clippers already got a shitty player to start off with, so let's see who they're going to be losing. Hopefully it's not anyone that will absolutely kill their team, and it does not look like it's going to be. It's the number 12 overall player, and the number 12 overall player on the Clippers will be going to what NBA team? Alrighty, so let's see what team it is. What team is getting such a not great player also? So it's looking like it's going to be the Kings. It was almost the Jazz, but it's the Kings, and the Kings will be receiving what player from the Clippers? Only Garrett Temple. So not the end of the world. Not a great player. You don't really want Garrett Temple, so the Clippers made out good on that one. The Grizzlies are up next. They have Mike Conley, Jonas Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson Jr., so a few pieces that they would not want to lose. And it's not looking like it's going to be a great player from the Grizzlies anyway, considering it is number 9. And with the number 9, who will be getting that? What NBA team will be getting the Grizzlies' 9th overall player? Let's spin the wheel and find out. So it's looking as though it's going to be a Knicks. The 9th overall player will go to the Knicks, and the 9th overall player on the Grizzlies is actually Chandler Parsons, and in real life, I'm sure that they would be more than happy to let Chandler Parsons go at this point because he's been kind of awful. So the Hawks are the next team. A few young pieces you don't want to let go. You know, Trae Young, John Collins. That's about it. But, Kevin Huerter. So the 10th overall player from the Hawks will be going to what NBA team? He will be going to the... Let's see. Maybe the Jazz? Ooh. And I was slightly off. He'll be going to the Hornets. And the 10th overall player on the Hawks is actually Omari Spellman out of Villanova. So once again, we haven't had any crazy players traded yet, but it's sure to come considering the wheel can't give us low numbers all the time. And next up, the Heat. Once again, another franchise. Not too many great players on it. They will be receiving the 10th overall player from the Miami Heat. And what franchise will be getting this 10th overall player? It's looking like it's going to be... It will be the Celtics. So the Celtics will be getting the 10th overall player from the Heat, which is actually Derrick Jones Jr. He's a pretty athletic guy. He's not bad. He's a solid backup small forward. Next up, we have the Hornets, and this team is pretty buns. The only player you really wouldn't want to lose is probably Kemba. So let's see what player the Hornets will be losing in this. The Hornets actually number 1, so they will be losing Kemba Walker. Now, what team will be blessed enough to receive Kemba Walker from the wheel? This could honestly be huge for a team and make them possibly make the finals, honestly. So it looks like, oh my gosh, it's going to be the Lakers. A tandem of Kemba Walker, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, and LeBron is pretty insane to think about. Next up, we have the Jazz. A few guys you don't want to let up, obviously. Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, maybe even Derek Favors, Joe Ingles. So, what number are we going to be losing? So, they're going to be losing a 7th overall player. So, a pretty solid player for sure. Not anyone that's cheeks, but not anyone that's going to absolutely kill them to lose. And what team will be receiving the Jazz 7th overall player? The Hawks will be, so a good come up for the Hawks. And who would the 7th overall player be? It's Thabo Sefolosha. So it's not a bad come up for the Hawks at all. Not a bad one. Next up, we got the Sacramento Kings. Obviously, you don't want to lose Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, or Marvin Bagley. So let's see who will be lost this time. And it's looking like it's going to be a high number again. And once again, the best player on the team was lost. The Kings are losing De'Aaron Fox. So now Kemba's gone and De'Aaron Fox is gone. But which team will be getting De'Aaron Fox? The Blazers. Now, the Blazers don't have an immediate need for Fox. Obviously, they have Damian Lillard and CJ, but it's obviously not going to hurt to bring in such a great young point guard for the squad. So next up, we have the Knicks. The Knicks are pretty terrible. They only really have DeAndre Jordan. I guess Dennis Smith Jr., nothing really crazy. But let's see what overall player is going to be lost. They're going to be losing their 2nd overall player. And the Knicks' 2nd overall player will be heading to what team? Because obviously, the 2nd overall player should be a solid NBA player. He will be heading to the Grizzlies. And the 2nd overall player on the Knicks is actually Emmanuel Mudiay. So it's not the worst thing ever, but it's not great. They could definitely help out the Grizzlies as a backup point guard, though, for sure. Next up is the Lakers. Obviously, you don't want to lose LeBron, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, especially since you have Kemba coming in. So let's see what number player the Lakers will actually lose from the wheel. Not looking great. It's the number 6th overall player, so it's going to be someone that they actually do utilize pretty heavily. And what team will be receiving this player? Because this player should be pushing around an 80 overall, most likely. It's going to be the Toronto Raptors. So the Toronto Raptors will be receiving Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a 76 overall. Not the biggest hit for them ever, but they could obviously have used KCP, but the Raptors did just receive themselves a solid bench guy right there in KCP. Next up, we have the Orlando Magic. Obviously, you don't want to lose Aaron Gordon, Vucevic, Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac. You don't want to really lose any of that young talent that you have. And it's the 12th overall player that will be heading out of Orlando. To what squad will he be going? Let's take a look. So, we're narrowing down the choices on this board. There's less and less every time. And the 12th overall player will be heading to the Warriors. So, who is the player that the Warriors will be receiving from the Magic? That would be Michael Carter Williams, a one-time Rookie of the Year turned huge bust. Next up, we have the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, you want to try and hold on to both Porzingis and Luka Doncic. So, 1 and 2 is what you're really rooting against for the Mavericks right now. The number 8 player will be taken. And where will the number 8 player be headed? Let's see what the wheel has to say. So, like I said, less and less choices every time from this wheel. It's looking like it's going to be the Cavs. So the Cavs will be getting the number 8 player, who is probably solid. Trey Burke. Okay, that's not the worst thing ever. A 75 overall backup point guard. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets. So you don't want to lose D'Lo. You don't want to lose Dinwiddie. You don't want to lose Jared Allen. You don't really want to lose Karis LeVert. You probably don't want to lose Joe Harris. So let's see what the number is. It's going to be a bottom tier guy, number 13. And who will be getting the number 13 overall player from the Brooklyn Nets? It's looking like it's going to be the Magic, who honestly just lost their player, and they just get Musa, which is not anything really big or changing to their team. Next up, we have the Nuggets. You obviously don't want to lose Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Jokic, Paul Millsap. So you want to keep this outside of the top 5 if you can. And it looks like it's the number 9 overall player for the Nuggets, which honestly might not be that bad of a player at all. So let's click the wheel and see where this player will be headed. It's looking like it's going to be to the Detroit Pistons, who could definitely use some help. And the 9th overall player on the Nuggets is actually a pretty good one. Michael Porter Jr., 76 overall small forward, so that's great for the Pistons. Next up, we got the Pacers. Once again, there's about 3 to 4 guys you don't want to lose on this squad. And let's see which number player they will be losing. It's not going to be anything too critical, it seems. Number 10 from the Pacers will be heading to what NBA city? He will be heading to... It's looking like maybe the Wizards. Oop, just misses the Wizards and hits the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the 10th overall player is Dougie McBuckets, one time thought of to be an amazing prospect who never really panned out. And here's the Pelicans. You obviously don't want to lose Anthony Davis, Jrue Holiday, or Julius Randle, so try and keep it out of the top 3 for the sakes of the squad. And it's looking like it's not going to be a high player. It's number 13, and number 13 on the Pelicans will be heading to which NBA team? He will be heading to... There's only about maybe 12 choices, 13 choices left on this wheel. He will be headed to the Brooklyn Nets. And the 13th overall player is Solomon Hill, so not a big hit for the Pelicans at all, and not a very big come-up for the Nets. Next up, we got the Detroit Pistons. You obviously don't want to lose Blake, and you don't want to lose Drummond. They do have Michael Porter Jr. coming, but still, it's looking like it might be a high player. It's number 1, so Blake Griffin is out of Detroit. Michael Porter Jr. will steal his starting spot this year, but what team will he be headed to? He's going to be going to the Rockets, which is insane. So now they're going to have Chris Paul, James Harden. They're going to have Blake Griffin. They're going to have Clint Capella. That is insane. Next up, we have the Raptors. You don't want to lose Kawhi. You don't want to lose Kyle Lowry, Spicy P, Serge Ibaka, or Marc Gasol. So let's see who they will actually lose. It's going to be a bench player, number 13 overall, and the 13th overall player will be heading to what team? The 13th overall player will be heading to... Let's see. He will be heading to the Mavs. So the Mavs just kind of got boned there. It's only Patrick McCall, so not a big come up. And the Raptors don't really take an L there. So the Rockets are now about to lose a player. And as we know, they're going to have Blake Griffin this season. So as long as it's not one of their big pieces, they should be fine. It's going to be number 10. So they're not losing anyone too critical to their team. And who will the number 10 player be heading to? And who is the number 10 player, honestly? Probably not a great player. He'll be heading to the Pelicans. So the number 10 player is Nene, 74 overall backup center. Not a big deal, really, for the Rockets squad at all, especially knowing that they're bringing in such a great player. So here we go. We got the Spurs. You probably don't want to lose anyone in this top 5. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, Rudy Gay, Derek White, or Dejounte Murray. Let's see what the wheel gives us. It's going to be a high number. It's number 5. So they're going to be losing the number 5 overall player on their team. To which NBA team? It's going to be the Chicago Bulls. So the number 5 overall player is Dejounte Murray. So the Bulls just got themselves an upgrade from Chris Dunn at the point guard position. A great defensive-minded point guard. Next up, we got the Suns. You obviously don't want to lose Booker or Ayton. And those are really the big ones that I would have to say here that you don't want to lose at all. Let's see what number it's going to be hitting. It's going to be kind of high. It's the number 5 overall player for the Phoenix Suns. And who is that, and where will they be heading? So the number 5 overall player is going to be headed to the Wizards. So the Wizards just got themselves Richaun Holmes, a solid, undersized center, power forward type player with a lot of energy. The Thunder up next. You don't want to lose PG. You don't want to lose Russ. You don't want to lose Steven Adams. And I wouldn't want to lose Nerlens Noel personally. And let's see what number they will be losing. It's going to be on the higher side. It's their number 6th overall player. So the Thunder will be losing which player? It has to be a pretty solid one. And it is Nerlens Noel. So Nerlens Noel is going to be lost, and he's going to be heading to the... I forgot to say, but he's going to be heading to the Jazz as a backup center for Gobert, which is a great fit considering they're both defensive-minded, and the coaching there is very defensive-minded. So next up, this player is heading to the Spurs from the T-Wolves, and which player would it be? It's going to be it's going to be a higher overall. Number 5 overall player from the T-Wolves is heading to the Spurs, and the number 5 overall player is Taj Gibson, a 78 overall power forward. Pretty solid come up there. Next up, we got the Trailblazers, who are going to have De'Aaron Fox. So they probably don't want to lose any of their big 3, really. So the player is going to be heading to the Thunder, and it's Al-Farouq Aminu. So that's honestly pretty good for the Thunder to bring in a pretty defensive-minded wing for them. Next up, we got the Warriors. Obviously, you don't want to lose Steph, KD, Boogie, Clay, none of them. But you never know. With the amount of good players they have, it's going to be a high overall player. It's the 3rd overall player. So the 3rd overall player on the Warriors will be heading to which of the 2 teams? Is it going to be the Bucks or the Pacers? It's the Pacers. So that could have been huge for the Bucks, but it's Klay Thompson to the Pacers. So that's going to be crazy. Him alongside Victor Oladipo, 89 overall. And last but not least, we have the Wizards here. And which player will this Wizards squad be losing? We got to see real quick. So the 6th overall player on the Wizards will be heading to the Bucks this season. And the 6th overall player on the Wizards is Thomas Bryant. So they just lost a great backup center, but they still have Bobby Portis and Dwight Howard. And I figured I would just show the rotations of a couple teams that is actually going to make a difference with their players. Like you saw, Thomas Bryant is 6th man on that team. Dejounte Murray will be starting for the Bulls at point guard, splitting time with Chris Dunn. For the Grizzlies, I would like to say that Emmanuel Mudiay will be pretty important as their backup point guard. Thabo Sefolosha will actually be starting for the Hawks. We got Nerlens Noel as sixth man for the Jazz. This one's huge. Lakers got themselves Kemba Walker at the point guard position now. Pacers, they got themselves Klay Thompson to go alongside Victor Oladipo. The Pistons did lose Blake, but they did get Michael Porter Jr. The Rockets now have Blake to go alongside their cast. Al-Farouq Aminu will be starting at power forward for the Thunder. And coming off the bench as sixth man for the Trailblazers will be De'Aaron Fox. And those are the biggest ones. The rest of them are kind of just contributing off the bench, most of the players. And while this is simming, I would like to take the time to say, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and sub on this video. It takes a long time to make these videos and edit them and everything. And I would really appreciate the support. I'm going to keep making videos and keep trying to be the best YouTuber I can be for now. So MVP still goes to Steph Curry. Not one of the biggest surprises I've seen. Let's see if anything's out of the ordinary. Looks pretty right. Trae Young, Rookie of the Year. Most Improved goes to Jordan Clarkson. All NBA teams are looking just about right. Nothing's really turned upside down, and no one that really got traded is on any of these teams. So that's definitely interesting to see. Yeah, nothing's really out of place here. So looking at the standings and stuff to just kind of see who made playoffs and who didn't. Let's see if anything's wild here. Knicks are still terrible, along with the Cavs. Let's see. The Bulls, I'm surprised that they did so bad, even with the upgrade at the point guard position. The Nets did not make playoffs. I am surprised to see the Pistons make playoffs without Blake Griffin. That's pretty insane to see. Now, I guess Michael Porter Jr. stepped up in a big way for the team. Looking at the Pacers, of course, they made playoffs with the addition of Klay. The Wizards had a great season, and really all we did was give them Rashawn Holmes on the bench. Looking at the West, nothing really crazy going on. The Grizzlies still are pretty bad. Pretty much everything's in place for the most part. But the Lakers still somehow do not manage to make playoffs, even with Kemba Walker, that's pretty insane. T-Wolves do slide into the playoffs this year with the addition of I don't even know who. I don't think it was a big deal. Yeah, most of the stuff seems pretty in place. I'm surprised the Lakers couldn't manage to make playoffs even with the addition of Kemba Walker. So looking at the first round, see if anything really interesting is going on here. So the Jazz beat the Trailblazers 4-0, which is definitely interesting because they have De'Aaron Fox on the bench too now. So looking at that, the Rockets win 4-2 over the T-Wolves. The Thunder win 4-2 over the Nuggets, which is honestly a little surprising. I feel like they would have given them a little bit more of a fight. The Warriors still beat the Pelicans 4-1. The Pistons win their game against the Wizards 4-1, their series, which is insane because they don't have Blake. The Sixers sweep the Celtics 4-0. Nothing's too out of place there. The Raptors win their series against the Pacers with Klay 4-3. I'm also surprised Klay had such a little impact in that game. And then the Bucks beat the Magic. I went and kind of looked at the stats real quick, and Michael Porter Jr. has taken over for the Nuggets. He went up about 4 overall points this season and has just been absolutely going off for them and just been a huge point as to why they've made this second-round playoff berth right now. Pretty much looking at the squads of who's left. See Al-Farouq Aminu starting. The Rockets have they have Blake starting. The Jazz have Nerlens coming off the bench as their sixth man. So let's see if anything crazy happens here. The Jazz start off really strong against that Rockets team, which is pretty insane to see because they have Blake now. The Rockets lose to that Jazz team that only has gotten Nerlens. That's the only change. The Thunder just beat the Warriors. So there is some insane things happening here. The Sixers won in 7 against that Pistons squad. So the Pistons squad put up a great fight. And then a 7-game series with the Raptors and Magic. Looking like the Jazz might take it again, and the Sixers might take it. The Sixers take it in 5, and the Jazz take it in 5. So the Sixers squad that doesn't really have anyone They just brought in a backup point guard in Terry Rozier, and the Jazz, who've only brought in a sixth-man center. This is crazy. The Jazz go up 2-0 on the Sixers. Sixers get a game, 3-1 Jazz, and 3-2 Sixers. They're hanging in there, and they lose 4-2. Donovan Mitchell MVP. So if you like this video, please like, comment, and sub. I'll be making more videos of the NBA. So if you enjoyed my content, I'll see you guys next video.